Welcome back to another episode of the Simone NBA Show. I'm your host, Jack Simone. You can follow me on Twitter at Jack Simone NBA. You can follow Heavy, who's the sponsors of this podcast, on Twitter at Heavy on Sports, and you can follow them on all other social channels, including YouTube, which is to the left of me on YouTube. I think you can find the things left, right, same difference. But if you're not on YouTube, you should check it out over there. Hit that subscribe button. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, all your other podcast platforms. But I've been saying it for the past 2 weeks. We had to reschedule, but it turned out great. Interview today with none other than NBA icon Muggsy Bogues, 5'3", shortest player to ever play in the NBA, played with the Charlotte Hornets, Washington Bullets, played in the U.S. Basketball League. I talked to him about that. Filmed Space Jam, also made an appearance in Curb Your Enthusiasm. Talked to him about that as well. Talked to him about his favorite player in today's game, his time playing with Del Curry, his relationship with Spud Webb, his time coaching in the WNBA, a bunch of different things. I think you'll really enjoy it. It was a great time talking to him. Thank you again to Muggsy Bogues for joining me on the podcast episode. And yeah, that should do it. I'll throw it over to that, and I hope you guys enjoy. It is my pleasure to welcome former NBA player, former Charlotte Hornet, former Washington Bullet, new author of Muggsy, My Life from a Kid in the Projects to the Godfather of Small Ball, Muggsy Bogues, to the Simone NBA Show. How are you doing today, Muggsy? Thank you so much for joining me.
I'm doing wonderful. Appreciate you having me on.
Of course. I'm excited to talk about your NBA career, your new book. And since I mentioned it in the intro, I did want to start there. You just released it earlier this year. Again, I'm going to say the title. It's titled Muggsy, My Life from a Kid in the Projects, and Godfather of Small Ball. Just in case people want to search it up, I had to mention it again. A memoir of your experiences and journey to the NBA. What was it like writing the book, and what do you hope fans can get out of it?
It was a joy rewriting this one. I did one earlier in 93, 94 called the Atlanta Giants, and that was the beginning stage of my career. This one, I had the opportunity to live a little, impact some folks along the way, relationship-wise. When the pandemic hit, we were sitting around, I just wanted to kind of put something out positively. And this, a good heartfelt book, I believe it is. As I alluded to, some of the past relationships we're playing with some of my current former players, Alonzo Mourning, Larry Johnson, Vince Carter, Del Curry, and Oakley, and those guys, as well as some of the current players, Stephen Curry and Chris Paul, lending their name to the book. I just want to kind of share some thoughts on how I impacted their lives as well as they infected my lives. I also talk about me and my wife, who rekindled our relationship, who we divorced for 10 years and found our way back to one another, which is kind of rare. The community aspects of it, things I've been doing in the community. So I just want to, again, put something that's a heartfelt, positive vibes out there. We've been going through stuff behind the scenes for quite some time with this pandemic stuff that we've been dealing with. So just want to put something out there that real people could kind of feel good about themselves, or not just feel good about something that they possibly could pick up within that and within that read and maybe relate it situation, and hopefully they overcame it as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like a nice light at the end of the tunnel after all the mess of the past few years that we've been going through. But You mentioned it with the title of your first book, in the line of Giants. You're obviously known for being the shortest player to ever appear in the NBA. It's something you've had to embrace and run with. I know your motto, heart over height. But when you were in the league, I wanted to kind of ask you maybe something funny. Did you ever get heckled or poked fun at by other players? Obviously, there's always, going to be chit chat in the NBA, trash talk. What were some of the funniest stories, or even just one you can recall of a player kind of, trying to get at you during the game?
Nothing stands out. They always, all the short jokes, little midget, little fella, all that type of stuff. That just conversation, chat talk, as well as the trash talk. So those are the things that always took place. How you doing down there? That type of stuff. Or how you doing up there? That kind of stuff. Give it back to him. MJ always like to try to give me a high five up here, where I kind of tell him, come on back down here, or give me a low five. So, little stuff like that always took part of the game.
Love it. And so guys like Isaiah Thomas and Nate Robinson have sort of carry on the legacy in the modern game. But when you were in the league, actually, Spud Webb was also playing at the same time as you, almost identical years. Also, do you have a relationship with Webb at all? Was it extra fun to play against him, or do you just treat it as sort of a normal game?
No, me and Spud are real close. We go all the way back from college days. Him at State and I'm at Wake. We always had that type of rapport with one another, even to this day. He just came to support me in my golf tournament last week, so I'm thankful for that. But it's always good to see someone, as you say, look like yourself. You can't be what you can't see. So being able to see that and seeing us being able to, perform and give kids out there hope that the game of basketball comes in all sorts of forms. So you don't have to just think that is one criteria that you have to be in order to make it to the NBA. And so not only myself, Michael Adams, we had Earl Borkin, Lord Gary Grant running around there. So it was a few of us out there representing the small size.
For sure. Do you outshoot Spud in your golf tournament? Who won that match?
Well, it wasn't just me against Spud. It was a charity golf event that I had for my foundation. And he came down and became one of my celebrities.
How'd you do? You shoot well?
Yeah, I did well. I did pretty good. We didn't win. You can't win your own tournament, but we did good. We had fun out there. It was for a great cause. That's what it was all about.
Of course. You could have won, but you had to make sure for your own team you can't be the leader. You're obviously an elite passer throughout the course of your career. Currently ranked 23rd all-time in assists. Guys like Kyle Lowry and James Harden kind of knocking on the door. What do you think makes somebody a great playmaker? And when you look at the younger generation in the NBA, who are some of the guys you see becoming the next group of elite passers in the league?
Well, having a feel for the game, you got your head on the swivel, being able to see the action happen actually before it even happened. Having that instinct, that ability to make that play, put a guy in a position where he could be successful. I see a lot of guys up and coming to fit that narrative. LaMelo Ball, John Morant, so these guys, Trae Young. I mean, you see all these guys that's coming out there that still fit that narrative in terms of how to uplift their teammates and make them guys better. And it's a joy to watch when you're able to see that, because you can see it from the beginning to the end. And when you see it all come to a fruition, I mean, it's a beautiful picture.
For sure. Actually, before we recorded, when I was doing my prep work, I was looking for a stat to see who you dished out the most assists to throughout the course of your career. Unfortunately, I couldn't find it. I kind of took an educated guess. It might be Del Curry, it might be Larry Johnson, but I took some sort of guess. But speaking of that, you had the chance to play with some of these great players, like you mentioned, Del Curry, Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning, Vince Carter. Who was your favorite player to pass to? And you can pick from those guys, but also if you want to go back to your time at Wake Forest or in high school, just the person, when you passed them, you just knew it was going and it was going to be an easy assist.
Well, it was all the guys that you just named. So it wasn't just one, because they all brought a different, skill set to the table. I knew once I gave it to LJ what he was about to do with it. I knew once I gave it to Dell what he was about to do with it, as well as Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady and Alonzo. I knew what they was going to do with it. That's why I gave them the basketball. And I gave it to them at where their strength lies, where they can take advantage of what they want to do with that basketball. So I didn't put them in a position where they had to work and had to think about what they need to do with the ball. Once they got it, their natural ability took over and gave me that assist, which I was looking for.
For sure. Nice stat patterns those guys gave for you. Helped you out.
And I'm quite sure Dell was the guy that got the most of them, because we played 11 years together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had to take I had to take a guess there. Speaking of Mourning, I know he and Stephen Curry actually wrote the forwards for your new book. You played in the NBA with Mourning, and you had a sort of a interesting relationship with Curry, because you got the chance to kind of watch him grow up, because you played with Stell, like you said, for 11 years. What did it mean to you to have those guys write the forwards for your book, and why did you choose them out of anybody?
Well, because, as I said, the impact that we had on each other. Steph as a kid, growing up, me and his dad played together, as I said, 11 years together. We was like family. He was close with our family. We was close with theirs. And, I just asked, and, they was willing to do it. Zoe and I came very close when he came here in Charlotte, and we've been at the hip ever since. I mean, those are the relationships, the bonds that you never, let go. And those are the relationships that you're able to continue to grow. And those guys, I'm thankful that they was willing to do it, because it added to the book. I mean, their comments, how I impacted them, how I impacted them, they impacted me. That was good to hear, because you don't really, sputter those words out in public when you're having those type of conversations.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I wanted to jump forward a little bit briefly to your post-playing career. You got the chance to, coach the Charlotte Sting of the WNBA for one season, their final season in the WNBA. You coached great players like Sherry Sam, Tammy Sutton Brown, Tangela Smith, the team's lone all-star that season. You've coached a bit more since then, but not at the professional level. What was it like coaching at the highest level of basketball in the WNBA, and what were some of your favorite moments, from that season with the team?
Well, that was a blast for me. I really enjoyed it. It was a different experience, a great opportunity that presented itself working with the ladies. My sister, I always been fond of the female women basketball because of my sister. Uh, Being able to work with them professional ladies, as I call them, they was very professional. Came in there, gave me everything they get, everything they had. They was more or less focused on the fundamental aspects of the game, and that's what I love. Even though we had a lot of athletes, a lot of athleticism, a part of the WNBA, but I just love how they focus more or less on that fundamental aspect of the game. Their skill set was off the chart. Had different injuries reports in terms of why they didn't want to practice that time. But, sometimes you had those female issues that you just can't go. But I love the ladies, and I really appreciate them coming in, being professional. We came in, got our work in. We got out. We did the best we could at that time. There's a lot of turmoil going on behind the scene, but we was able to overcome that adversity and still finish the season out. And I think we had could have had a better season for sure, record wise, but we was very competitive each and every night.
Yeah, for sure. Any plans of coaching in the future? WNBA, NBA, any level?
It's too late now. I mean, too late. Time has a little passed by me a little bit where I got out of it a little bit. I'm enjoying what I'm doing now. Serving as an ambassador for the NBA, for the Hornets itself, and running my foundation.
Gotcha. Yeah, and staying on the WNBA for a second, I wanted to ask you, as a former NBA player and obviously a coach in the WNBA, why is it important for NBA fans to watch and appreciate the WNBA and continue to support that?
Because it's a beautiful product to be watching. A beautiful product should be supporting. It's our women we talking about, the backbone of this country, a backbone of a lot of families, and being able to have them out there to provide entertainment and then at the same time come home and take care of their families. I mean, that's a superwoman for me. But that's why we need to we should be supporting them, supporting this brand, supporting that lead, because not only you seeing great athleticism, great basketball take place, but then all that comes with the total package, what they mean, what they stand for. So I just wish everybody truly understand the importance of supporting the WNBA, because they definitely need it, they deserve it, and they want it. Bottom line, they good, they talented players, and it's very entertaining.
Absolutely. And I mean, when you have a coach like Becky Hammon coaching a player like Asia Wilson win the title, it's a bonus, like it's great basketball at the core. So getting back into your playing career a little bit, you got the chance to play with Manute Bol for a season in Washington. Obviously, that iconic photo that came out of the three basketballs stacked on top of each other. I don't know if there's any stories behind it, but just what was it like taking that picture and playing with Bol for that season? Obviously it became this crazy picture that everyone always references.
Yeah, I miss my guy. Manute was fun to play with him. I mean, he was a human being that just really enjoyed life when he was here with us. And he had so much spirit amongst them that he lit up the room. It was just great to play with a skill set like him. We was the opposite. He was, a center. I was a guard. Having a lot of comfortability, knowing you could gamble a lot, and knowing that Manute still had your back. And he was just a funny guy to be with. And I remember we played one-on-one at practice, and when I blocked a shot, he chased me around the gym for about 15 minutes trying to catch me. And we just enjoyed each other's company. We sat with each other, next to each other, I should say, pretty much throughout our rookie year, because we had to fly. When we flew commercial, we didn't have private planes. Mm-hmm. And then every plane, they only had 8 first-class seats. So we got bumped out of that seniority. So we had to go fly and coach. And he used to have all kinds of stories. He used to tell about killing a lion with a spear. And I just always asked him what kind of lions were those. The lions with no teeth in their mouth that they just gonna let you kill it with a spear. So it was some fun times with him, and I really missed him a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do you fit in those coach seats? Do you fit nice and
Yeah,
easy back?
chest up to your knees up to your chest,
Uh,
I should say.
love it. Um, Speaking of Bowl, you both actually share another commonality. You played in the United States Basketball League. Spud Webb did as
Mm.
well. What was it like playing in sort of a secondary professional league with all of those future NBA players like Webb and Bowl? And do you think there's anything out there like that today? Like, do you compare the G League to that, or was that sort of like a thing of its own?
Yeah, that was back in the day. And the thing about it was before the draft. So it gave me a little opportunity just
Mhm.
to stay in shape, play against some of the former players. They had World B. Free back then, Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Richardson. So they had Nancy Lieberman was playing. So they had a lot of former professional players that were still playing. And I just wanted to get an opportunity to play, to keep in shape before the draft. But played only about 10 games, and then I twist my ankle, and then I shut it down because the draft was coming up. But
Hmm.
it was a great experience.
Do you think there's room for something like that in the league today, or like below the NBA, or do you think the G League sort of covers it?
Well, the G League does cover it because that's the CBA, all that rolled into one. Um, but those type of tournaments before, I mean, it didn't really. I don't think it really helped the NBA within itself because I'm quite sure they did their reports, and they already had the information players who they was going after, not guys that was venture over to the USBL lead during that time. I think it served as a semi-pro league and
Yeah,
a farm league, and hopefully, that. And as you touched on earlier, that's what the G League is doing.
for sure. I wanted to jump to today's game a little bit and have some opinions from you on that. Um, we're in an era of player empowerment and players changing teams a lot right now. You see things turning back the clock a little bit with guys like Giannis in the Bucks, Jokic and the Nuggets sort of staying in one place, but a lot of players want to change teams in order to win. You obviously changed teams a few times, but not many of them were necessarily by your own choice. You were traded a few times, stuff like that. What do you think about players like Kevin Durant and James Harden wanting to change teams? Do you have a strong opinion on, the sort of movement to want to change teams? Are you more of a one team whole career kind of guy, or what are your thoughts on that in the modern era?
Well, no, it's all about just being accountable in
Mhm.
terms of honoring your contract. If you sign your contract, then you need to honor left something that's go left within the organization between you and that player, and then you both need to depart with one another. But once you do sign, you obligated to fulfill that contract and see it all the way through. Um, to where it is now, and with the Durant situation moving on, who knows what went on behind the scenes? Because early on they were saying that, you know, this is what we want, and then now there's something that we didn't want. But again, they back to being on the same page again, and grateful and happy for them guys. They was able to figure this thing out because the NBA could be challenging, man. This is a tough business that we're in, and players get traded, players want to stay, players can't stay, owners want them leaving. So it's all scenarios that goes along with the NBA. But as a player, you just gotta, more or less take care of your own, what you can control, and not worry about the rest.
For sure. So, turning things to more of a positive note, I wanted to ask you if you have a favorite player in the league today, and if so, just what makes them your favorite player. It can be anybody in the league. Just your opinion. Who's your favorite to watch?
Well, that's easy. Steph is my favorite player, right? He's always going to be that. CP is up there as well, but Steph, he holds the candle right now. Him and Seth are the two that out there does it for me. Of course, again, like I said, CP as well. Um, but those are the guys.
For sure. I should have seen that one coming, I guess. What about the young guys? Like the guys just coming into the league? I'm talking Scotty Barnes, John Morant, Luca. Who do you see as the next sort of face of the NBA in terms of guys you want to watch play?
Well, the face will be Ja is the most popular of them
Mhm.
all right now because of his status. Then you're gonna have Melo coming along right with him, Trey Young, those type of guys going to continue to be part of that conversation as the
For
young.
sure.
But you're gonna have someone else we ain't talking about that's gonna be on that scene, and that's gonna be in that room as well. But you just love the hands of the NBA right now. You know, they're in great hands with LeBron still playing at a high clip and his 20-some season. And then then you still have Steph still relevant and what he's capable of doing, coming off a championship run, Clay coming back. I mean, they got to feel really good about the upcoming season, because it's a lot of positivity going on when you're talking about the NBA.
For sure. Yeah, and keeping in mind with that, if you don't mind, would you create your ultimate starting lineup? So put yourself at the point guard. Say you're the centerpiece of a franchise. You're the point guard. Could you fill out the rest of the starting lineup? Like you pick your shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center from today's game that you would want playing alongside you to complement your game the best.
Oh, shit. I mean, of course, I got Steph over there. I got Steph, KD, LeBron, and who else I want to put in my center? I'll probably pick I'll pick Joel. I like Jokic. I love Jokic at Denver, but I'll pick Joel.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, you probably wouldn't lose too many games with that lineup right there. And while we're on the topic of the current NBA, I just got to ask, it could be a spitfire question, but who do you got winning this year? Preseason's just kicking off, regular season just around the corner. It's a tough question. There's a lot of talent in the league right now, but I'll put you on the spot.
I tell you, I mean, Golden State going to be in the conversation again. On the West Coast, as well as I think the Clippers going to be in the conversation. On the East, Milwaukee, and I'm thinking maybe Philly.
Yeah.
Thinking maybe Philly, yeah.
They got a lot of talent up there.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I don't know what's going to happen with Brooklyn.
Yeah, I mean, you talk Brooklyn, Boston, Milwaukee, Miami, even Sixers, and then out west, there's a whole laundry list of teams that could all make a run. More talent in the NBA this year than we've seen in a long, long time. But lastly, I did want to ask you one question. I'm sure you get asked about Space Jam a lot, but that's actually not your only TV and movie appearance. You appeared in Curb Your Enthusiasm in 2004, and interesting scene, a funny scene. I just wanted to ask you about that experience working with Larry David, and a scene like that was just comedic. Like, what was your experience working on that show?
Oh man, Larry was hilarious. Him and Richard Lewis, they both were. They had me laughing the entire time on the set. And I truly appreciate them making me feel comfortable, because, again, I had a great time on it. It's an ad-lib type of show, so you just go out there and do your thing. And I told them they had the right guy for the part. Yeah. But it was great, man. I really enjoyed that opportunity to work on Curb Your Enthusiasm, because at the time I didn't know what Curb Your Enthusiasm mean. You know, I knew Larry David from Seinfeld, but didn't know about the show of Curb Your Enthusiasm. But I'm grateful that I had that opportunity, because I love it, and everybody in my family loves it as well.
For sure. Space Jam or Curb? What do you rank? What was more fun?
Space is one of them iconic, so I'm gonna put them right up there. Curb just right, it's touching, but it's on the bottom.
I got you. Well, that's all the questions I have. I appreciate you taking the time talking about the league, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and a bunch of other things. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
All right, boys. Good talking to you. Have a good rest of the day.
You too as well. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
And that'll do it. Thank you so much again to Muggsy Bogues for joining me on this week's edition of the Simone NBA Show. Some great anecdotes in there. I hope you guys really enjoyed that. It was a blast. Happy he hopped on to talk about his new book and his time in the NBA and coaching and all that sort of fun stuff. But yeah, like I said, that'll do it for this week's episode of the Simone NBA Show. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you'll join me again next week. I'm your host, Jack Simone. You can follow me on Twitter at Jack Simone NBA. You can follow Heavy on Twitter at Heavy on Sports. And like I said at the start of the show, you can follow all the social channels on the side of my face on YouTube. And if you're not on YouTube, head over there, hit that subscribe button. All podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I stumbled again. I know I stumbled at the start too, but yeah, thank you guys for listening. Catch you next week. Peace out.